9-ish. Shortly after 9. Hello to all our... Shit. Well, that's good. Three words. 3 words. Hello to all of our listeners out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 38 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, recorded on August 8th, 2016. Tonight I'm joined by Tyler. He'll be usurping Gavin's usual duties. Tyler's a true patriot whose blood smells suspiciously like napalm and shoots with Doc Holliday's fully ripened huckleberries. He also co-hosts the International Liberty or Death podcast and can accurately be described as a minarchist edgelord. Hey Tyler, how you doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. It's like I haven't talked to you for almost a day.
It's been a long time, yeah.
It's been too long.
I was worried we'd never speak again because it was uncertain there for a while whether my car would start ever again. I had to stop for gas in Brantford.
German engineering.
Yeah. I stopped for gas in Brantford. I was like, I don't know, has it been running long enough? Am I going to have enough of a charge to turn it over again?
We also have Marty. Marty's a sport shooter and hunter from Southern Ontario. Hey Marty, how's it going?
I'm doing alright.
I'm glad you were there to help with... Well, I guess you have to be there. We were at your house on the weekend, so I'm glad that you had the wherewithal and tools to help jumpstart Tyler's car.
Yep.
I know, I have the good sense to keep jumper cables in my truck, but not my car. I don't know why.
Yeah, I actually just took all of my stuff out of the truck to make it easier to moving, because I'm like, well, I don't need my emergency box in the truck while I'm moving.
Because when you have a truck, people ask you. They're like, that guy will have jumper cables. He has a truck.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, really, I guess that should be the way that works.
So, like, I always have jumper cables in my truck and a tow strap and that.
That's a good idea. That's very prepared of you. We couldn't be joined by Gavin this evening because he's off participating in a Bohemian Grove camping retreat. But as always, I'm your host.
Go as we speak.
As always, I'm your host. My name is Andrew. I'm a libertarian competitive shooter, gear reviewer at everydaytactical.com, and a firearms instructor. Tyler, do you
Before we get rolling... Yes, that was all in italics, man. I was all over that. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. And Gavin isn't here, but his challenge still stands. Leave us a 5-star review, and you can make him drink anything that you want. The edited version of the show is available on Stitcher and on iTunes.
Right on. So with
I don't have to read those links, do I? Because there's a lot of numbers and slashes in there.
That's just for the show notes.
Okay.
Don't make me add it. Come on.
Visit Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and give us a like. We'll let you know when new episodes air and when we're live on YouTube, usually Monday, around 9-ish, 9:15.
10 after 9 tonight.
10 after 9. Usually the edited version of the show is available 2 to 3 days after its original broadcast.
The edited one always starts on time.
That's right.
And I do my best to eliminate the cursing, but it doesn't always happen.
A few slip through. I love it when they do.
I feel really bad when they do, because I make an effort to produce a family-friendly, clean version of the show so we can have that clean iTunes rating. And sometimes it doesn't make it.
But
anyway.
What kids are listening to us bitch about the government?
It's not the kids. I've had a number of people that say they can't listen with their kids in the car because they don't know when I'm going to accidentally forget to beep out an F-bomb.
But couldn't you they just come and go so quickly? Couldn't you just be like, he said puck, or he said shipped, he said ship. Couldn't you just lie?
Hear that, listeners? It's on you to be more creative with lying to your children.
Yeah, lie to your kids. Everybody does it. You did it with Santa. What's one more little fib?
You're going to make such a great parent.
Yeah. My kid's going to be so... Yeah, my kids are going to be so, pessimistic. Oh, that's a lie. Grade 2, they'll be, accusing their teachers of being lying statist shills.
That's better than Marty's future progeny. They're going to be walking around going, no, the Earth is flat.
Actually, that is a great idea. Just teach your kids all of the exact wrong things, flat Earth, all the random conspiracy theories. Like teaching them young when they trust you.
We're not qualified to be parents, guys.
I'm just gonna wing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what my parents did, and I turned out more or less all right. What are we drinking tonight? We'll start with Tyler.
Well, I just polished off my usual Rickard's White, my beer of choice. But for this evening, I will be enjoying a very high-class beverage from the Beaver Valley Cidery, a local distiller of fine apple beverages. I just picked this up a week ago. I did a tour of their facility. It's actually quite nice. So I'm going to crack that open now.
Well, I should like to hear all about that as I am a big cider fan. Marty, what are you drinking?
I have some Waterloo Dark that was graciously left at my house this weekend.
Excellent. I'm glad you're getting used to that. I felt bad looking through the show notes. I'm like, what should I get Marty to go to his house? I can't show up with it like empty-handed, and he already has like way more food than a human needs. So I'll bring beer. Beer's always welcome. And I was like looking at the back. Well, I looked at the back catalog. I'm like, I can't go into the beer store and order Budweiser. Oh, I definitely can't go into the beer store and order MDG. Like,
MGD.
So I went back and.
So I've had like a. Basically, we had like a family event, so I ended up with like a random assortment of beers that I've been working through. And then everyone's like, when I go out and get like better beer, I tend to drink those first. And then by Monday night, after the weekend of drinking all the better beer, I'm down to just whatever's random laying around.
I got you.
So that's why when we were like trying to wrap up the night and like drive home, he kept like putting beers in front of us. It's like, I'm never gonna drink these. Drink
No,
those.
those were good ones.
Those were the good ones.
Yeah, what was that? What was that? It was a Double that I was drinking. What was that monk beer?
Dual Ambry. It's something Belgian. I forget the name of the brand right now.
Yeah, what do we have?
Grimbergen. It's great.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That was good, actually. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was good. I like that. I would drink that again.
A strong beer, like a beer that's over 6%, it's always hit and miss with me, but I actually like that.
All right. Marty, did you tell us what you're drinking tonight? I don't remember.
Yeah, that's how we got on this conversation.
Okay, great.
Not in the show notes. Throws us off.
Yeah, I'm looking at my show notes. I'm like, Marty's is blank, and I was asking questions. I don't remember if he actually answered them.
Oh, anyway. You guys actually wrote in what you're drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on our game when it comes to show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, except that Tyler lied because he's drinking a cider.
Well,
dude, this is like a fine cider though. It's only from Ontario apples, and it's I'm not gonna get into the whole thing, but the dude just like the cider master, whatever. He like went on to like insult like every other cidery like known to man. He was like, "Oh, you drink Summersby? That's not cider. It's literally cider."
Did he call
flavor.
them all facts?
I'm sure he did under his breath. He probably muttered it. I couldn't quite make it out. But actually, the guy was kind of like an anti-hunter. I didn't really care for that because I was like, people were like, "Well, what do you do with like the pulp? You know, like what do you do with the leftover mush?" And I'm thinking, oh man, that make great deer feed. You know, you just kind of spread it out and
get those deers a little drunk.
Yeah. So he says, oh yeah, no, I keep getting hunters. And he says it like with a nasty undertone to it. It's like hunters keep coming around and bothering me for my apple pulp, but so far I've resisted their requests. So he's like not too big on the hunters. I'm like, well, screw you, man. I'm only gonna buy one bottle. I was gonna buy 4, now I'm only gonna buy 1.
That's awesome.
Anyway, cider is high class, man. Don't insult cider. Cider's good stuff.
No. I need to try I need to try making cider when we get moved into the new place. I've got plans for a proper 5-gallon brewery.
They're totally not paying me to plug their product.
All right. And I'm not doing anything exciting tonight. I just have regular old Appleton and Coke.
And it is Coke, not Pepsi?
No, it's Coke. I mean,
okay.
What am I, a communist?
Okay, exactly. All right. As long as we don't need to have that conversation, that's good.
No. Who orders a rum and Pepsi? What, like...
Oh, you already said so, communists.
Yeah, exactly. What sort of able-bodied, red-blooded man walks into a bar and is like, you know what I'd like? A rum and Pepsi.
That's like, as somebody who would be like kicking off the helicopter, we'd like give them the dignity of having like a last meal or a last drink, and that's something that they would order.
They get to ride twice just for that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about things that happened on the weekend. We'll start with Marty. Marty fixed himself.
Yeah, finished the AR.
Can you tell everybody about your AR? Would you like to describe it? Hold it up to the camera so we can hear it.
I think we have been
camera
hearing.
so you can hear it.
The joke I'm making is
I'm still trying to work
I've been hearing gun sounds.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work out this mag issue. So I'm sitting here with feeler gauges on my bolt cat, trying to figure out how much I need to shim it so that it works reliably. But yeah, it's a 14.5-inch ATRS barrel. Standard AR.
That description is thoroughly lacking. Thank you.
Yeah, do you want to elaborate on like the issue that you've been having with it and like what you've done to like address it?
So the issue I'm having is Gen 3 PMags. The bolt catch doesn't actually catch the follower. It kind of falls behind it as the follower is coming up, so it doesn't lock open on an empty mag. And we tried a whole like boatload of different mags. Works fine with every other mag, but Gen 3 PMags. So there's just like the polymer and the rivet on the back of it just kind of shim the mag forward enough that it misses the follower. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at I have a couple of bolt catches here, and one I have in there is the longer one of the two that I have. So I don't think it's really an issue with that. It's just the PMag. So I'm trying to put a little bit of shim stock in behind the bolt catch to stop it from. It kind of has a little bit of slop, so it rocks back and forth a little bit, and just to put a bit of brass shim stock in the bolt catch here just to eat up that slack. And once I do that, it should catch the follower.
Okay, this is going to be way too technical, and I'm going to cut it out. But I got to know, where are you putting the brass shim stock? Like, how are you affixing it to the bolt catch?
I'm just putting think about like a very small washer with a hole in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to go alongside the one side of the bolt catch, and then the roll pin's going to pin right through the bolt catch and the little washer.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Have you thought about the wear properties of the multiple different kinds of metal?
Yeah, that's why I'm going with brass.
Intermingling with one another?
Yeah, the brass is the softest of them all.
Yeah. But
so it'll wear the washer, if anything.
Yeah, that's what yeah, exactly, okay.
And it's not like it gets a lot of, like that's not a high moving part or nothing like that, right?
No, not at all. It hardly moves at all. It's an NEA lower, did you say?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No,
I actually did measure it, and it's
scary.
So I measured all of the lower properties, like spent like last night with calipers trying to figure out what's not in spec.
Mm.
And the lower, like all the spacings and the thicknesses and the lower is fine. It's all within spec. It's just the bolt catch that sucks.
I'm just messing with you. I've had 5 NEA lowers. They've all worked fine.
Yeah, I've had no issue with it.
Yeah.
It's just the anodizing's a pain in the ass because like every pin is a bitch to get in at first.
Yeah, I had that problem too when I assembled mine from stripped lowers. I had to clean out the pivot and takedown pin pockets with a drill bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I guess.
All right. Good segue,
That's
guys.
a conversation that's going to get cut out later.
Yeah. Well, no, I am going to cut that out later because nobody's going to want to hear us talk about like the finer points of like brass shim stock. That doesn't make for good radio.
Oh man, as long as we're cutting shit out. We tried to talk about like malfunction clearance drills and like how to determine like what malfunction has occurred and stuff like in the moment. Matt and I tried to record that like 3 or 4 times. It was like literally like 40 minutes straight of us like just straight up talking like technical stuff with your gun. It was the most boring, horrible, unbroadcastable, unreleasable content that's ever been recorded. Every time it got worse. Okay.
Well, and that's why I skipped right over it, because there was no point in talking about this on a podcast.
Well, whatever. Our one YouTube viewer, I'm sure, is enamored with what. Oh no, there's 4 people on YouTube. Sorry, guys.
God.
See,
I
maybe we
would
should talk about the
apologize to.
minutia of gun parts more.
Yeah, no. If you'd all like to go into chat and say hi, I will apologize to each of you individually by name for making you listen to that. Sorry, everybody. Okay, let's talk about the OAS shotgun match. So Tyler Rebel shot
Actually, if any of you 4 people have a better solution for solving the Gen 3 PMAG issue, let me know.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So I guess the what preceded the drinking at Marty's house was Tyler, Gavin, Jeff, and I, who've all been on the show before. Obviously, I've been on the show before. It's my show.
Are you sure?
Who are you again?
Who am I? It's a really metaphorical question. I mean, really, who is anyone? Jeff, Tyler, and
I don't know.
I swear to God, you guys are gonna make me edit so much.
All right, let's move it along.
Somebody introduce the OAS shotgun thing.
All right, we shot the 4th match of the Ontario Action Shooting League's first year. The first year they've been putting on matches. It's a 6-match series, and this was the first one hosted at Oxford. Next one will be at Galt. And this was Andrew's first match. Gavin, Jeff, and I have shot the preceding 3. So it was the first time, like, the 4 of us have all shot together. It was a great time. I thought they put on a great, safe, fun match. Interesting stage design, nice high round counts. It never felt like you were really doing the same thing twice. It was great. Always good to see familiar faces, and I in particular had a very good match performance. So I'm creeping up on number 2 in my division. So I'm hoping to get like something juicy off the prize table in September.
Nice. Now you Gavin and Jeff are all league players, right? So you guys have to do like a minimum of 5 of the 6 matches?
No. The league player versus not a league player, that determination, like that classification, is purely to determine who pays how much. So we have all paid up front. And a league player pays $180 up front, and that gets you entry into 6 matches. The non-league players have to pay $35 per match. And as a non-league player, as long as they participate in at least 4 of the 6 matches, they will qualify for the prize table. So the league versus non-league thing is just people who paid in, like, got the bulk price essentially for the matches versus not. And it's just for making sense of registration on practice score. That's really all that has to do with anything.
Okay, so you almost get 1 match for free. Like it's like 1 match and a little bit.
Sure, yeah, you could call it that.
And the prize table.
And the prize table. But Andrew, had he participated in 1 more match prior to this one on the weekend, and if he did the remaining 2 that are still on the schedule, he would also qualify. Yeah, he would also qualify. So if you missed out on buying, like if you miss 1 of the 6 matches, it's really not worth your money to pay the $180 league fee, right?
But you do get the snazzy T-shirt.
But you get the shirt. Well, the shirt actually wasn't free. We had to pay for that.
Oh, that's not part of that.
No, I think maybe if you might have to pay more if you're not a league player. But I got my shirt. It's not in the room, unfortunately. But yeah, the shirts are pretty ballin'.
Yeah, they are nice shirts. It is kind of nice to see everybody like look, uniform when you show up to thing. I mean, like our squad, they just look for everybody in multicam.
Yeah, pretty much. Although you weren't wearing any multicam.
No, I don't own any multicam.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. You should fix yourself.
Well,
a wise man I know uses that expression often.
Yeah.
But this league is fully sponsored. Select Shooting Supplies is the main sponsor, and then you've also got Shooter's Choice, TDSA Canada, Vincent Optical, Tactical Ordnance, and probably a couple other people that I'm forgetting, unfortunately. But lots of people are involved, and together, everybody's put together like a really nice league. Targets are always steel or cardboard for slug using standard IPSC targets. it's a good time. So there's still 2 matches left, and they're open to everybody. So fans of the show, if you're local, come out.
Yeah, get on our squads. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
doing any more this year. I think I might be able to make one more of the 2 matches.
Mm-hmm. Come to the next one.
Well,
next one's Galt. Where's the last one?
Sorry?
I said the next one is Galt, but where's the last one?
Crumlin. It's over by London.
Oh yeah, London there, yeah.
Wow, Cromlin's getting in on action shooting. That's a divergence. All right.
Hey, that's where I did my black badge.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They're,
When I lived in London, Crumlin was like a trap gun or a trap club with like 100-yard range. So I'm just impressed that they were doing action shooting.
Yeah, when I did my black badge, that was like their start. So there was a bunch of the kind of let's say the older crowd of the range. And
yeah, for sure.
They arranged to have the IPSC black badge course done there, and they all took it so that they could get a feel for what this was and if they wanted to be running this at the club, kind of thing.
No, that's cool. I mean, like, I'm all for that. When I lived in London, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, after university, like, Crumlin was where I went to shoot trap on Wednesday nights because they had like a new shooter program for trap shooters. So
yeah, so there was like when I was doing the back badge, there was a couple of guys like with revolvers, leather holsters, no moon clips or that kind of stuff, like hand loading and trying to do reloads in IPSC time.
So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to make any of the other matches because. Well, since we're talking about shooting matches, the Crumlin shoot on September the 24th with the OAS.
That's right. Yeah.
Falls on the same day as CQB 7A, which is our first championship match of the year, of which there are 2.
Blow it off, dude. Blow it off. It's way more fun.
It's not a matter of whether or not it's more fun. I have to be there so that the CQB matches run, because if I don't show up, there are no targets, there are no scorecards, they don't have any of the instruments.
Oh man, let it burn. Just let it burn.
Let it burn. No, I got to be there for 7A, and the Galt shoot is September the 3rd.
Yeah, I think it's the 2nd and the 3rd. I think it's a 2-day shoot.
Yeah, unfortunately that interferes with when I'm going to the Meaford Long Range Steel PRS match.
That's too bad.
Well, it's the first PRS match in Canada. Is going to be at Meaford 4 Division Training Center. September 3rd and 4th, and I think it was like, I want to say it was like $200 to register, and then like another $150 for rations and quarters for the weekend. And we're going to be like shooting steel out past 1,000 yards, and it's a PRS match, and there's supposed to be a pretty hefty prize table.
Nice.
So I really want to go and shoot
round
that.
count?
It was really reasonable. I think it's like 200.
Wow, that's an expensive weekend.
I mean, yeah, it's an expensive weekend, and I don't expect to place well because I'm just shooting like a pretty stock 700 like long range tactical. I think it's the 700 XTR long range tactical that I've got. I forget. There's like 700 different 700s, but I mean for $400 for the weekend, if I walk away with a prize, I break even because there are rifles up.
It's worth it just for the experience, like just to run one out that far and in a match condition would be.
Well, I've shot 1,000-yard matches before, but I've never done it as a like practical exercise. Like I've done F class at 1,000, which is like lay there and basically bench shoot, but from prone. So this will be a whole new fun and exciting thing.
Oh, well, if you're there the whole weekend, you got to come down into Meaford and go to the Leaky Canoe, get some chicken wings. They've got Coors Banquet on tap.
So when I was in the military, I actually did some time in Meaford. I really enjoy the Leaky Canoe. I've been there.
It's great.
Once or twice.
Yeah, I love that place. It's like 10 minutes from my house.
Well, maybe Saturday night you'll have to come up and meet me.
Yeah, done. We'll do a live broadcast.
That always turns out well.
That'd be great.
All right, let's go into the news then, eh?
Yeah, we'll just ignore the shotgun that I'm holding.
Oh, why are you holding a shotgun?
I don't know. I just thought maybe
it doesn't transition well to audio. Please tell us about your shotgun.
I already got to talk about his gun. I'm going to talk about my gun. I was going to
gun that didn't malfunction this weekend.
I wanted to bring Andrew into this conversation, ask him what he shot for the match and kind of how he felt about the match, because he didn't really say anything about it. And I was going to say that I shot my Versamax, the 3-gun edition. I'm using a Vortex Venom Red Dot, has an extended charging handle, a Nordic Components magazine extension, Nordic Components barrel clamp, and I shot the whole thing with improved cylinder choke.
Very fancy. I guess if we're talking about my shotgun, that's a Benelli Supernova with a Nordic Components extension and a high-vis fiber optic front sight. And otherwise, it's basically stock. Like it's a Supernova. There's not much you do to muck with them.
And did it catastrophically fail?
No, but I catastrophically failed. On the very first stage that we shot, I went to go do like my second set of reloads, and I don't know what I was smoking, but clearly it was not the good stuff, because the forend of the shotgun wasn't locking forward. And I went back and I watched the video like 4 times last night, and I think what you said originally, Tyler, I think was right. I think what I did was I didn't eject the previous round, and I was trying to load. So I was loading on like a dead chamber.
Yep.
And every time I tried to jam a shell in, the forend would like slide back and interfere with the loading of the shells, and I couldn't get like my right arm and my left arm working in opposite directions.
That's right. I see it all the time.
Yeah, and it was totally like a brain fart on my part, because I'm like, okay, I shot. Now I need to load my shotgun. But like I missed like the key step of like removing the spent shell and putting a new one in the chamber.
Yeah. So I've done that duck hunting before too.
It can totally lock your gun up if you get the sequence wrong, right? If your pump comes back like even like a 1/4 inch, it can totally lock your gun up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Mine didn't lock up at all. Like the forend was just like floating there. So every time I tried to put shells in, the forend moved in the opposit direction the shells go.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like further opening the chamber up and like blocking the loading port. It was just it was a total gong show. Like, but I did it once and I lost, I don't know, 20 or 30 seconds dicking around with it, and after that everything was fine.
Now, for your ammunition carrying devices, what are you looking at now in the aftermath of this match?
You know what? Looking at the video, I don't practice loading off of my 4x4 anymore, but I was really, really good at it.
I noticed that, actually.
And I haven't practiced loading off my 4x4, so I've got an AP Customs. I've actually got a pair of AP Customs 4x4s. And I should have brought my other 4x4 with me. I only brought one. I actually, as my primary ammunition, like, loading medium, I use straight 8s from somebody. I forget who makes them.
Invictus?
Invictus no. Practical, yeah. The straight 8, so it holds 8 shells that are, like, staggered. And they're on blade tech locks that you can like cant at various angles. So that's my primary way of loading, and I do load too because I have like the stubby little like Scotch-Irish fingers.
Yep.
Yeah, you're familiar with those. Like your fingers just aren't as long as they ought to be, right?
That's right. Huge palms, stubby fingers.
We make up for it in other departments. At least
Obviously.
I do.
Yep.
Naturally.
Yep. Very tall.
I mean, the load 2 works great because I practice the load 2 all the time. I can do shoot the gun, load 2, shoot the gun again, and I can consistently get like between 4.5 and 4.7 seconds to do that. So like the load 2 works really well for me. But for some reason, watching the video after the match, the load 4s, which I haven't practiced in like 2 years, just all of them worked flawlessly.
I remember, I actually am pretty sure I have footage of this, which your camera wouldn't have captured because of the angle, but I'm pretty sure I have footage of you using your load 4. And I remember thinking, as you popped like one in and then shuffled the next one up to your thumb, you know, and did that whole motion and getting it done flawlessly. I was like, that's how load 4, like in that fashion, needs to be done for it to be efficient. I can't do that.
I practiced that for like the better part of 18 months and over a winter a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And like just when I sort of got into the 3-gun thing and I was still shooting like my like stock 870, and that's what was available was the AP Customs 3x3s and 4x4s. I'm like, well, bigger is better. You know, in retrospect, 3x3s would probably fit me better.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, I was young and stupid and I needed the gold pieces. So I bought the 4x4 and I learned how to use it, and I got pretty good at loading it weak hand. And compared to the AP Custom, or compared to the Invictus Practical, the straight 8s, it's still way slow. Like, it's way slower to do the load one at a time with 4 coming out. I don't know. It worked out for me somehow.
I'm in the same bed, in the sense that I have an AP Customs 3x3 that I carry on my back left hip, and I use the AP Customs load 12s. I have one on either side of my crotch, like on my left and right thigh, and then I have the Invictus, the carrier that holds 6 on my back right hip, behind where my holster would be. And that by 3, that's my last resort. That's like, if I'm loading off that, it's like been a total disaster, or it's an extremely high round count stage, and I just need those rounds because it's not an ideal platform to load off of. It's just slow. It really is. It's probably faster than out of a side saddle, but it's still slow compared to loading 2 at a time off of any other carrier.
Oh, yeah. Or have you seen Jeff do his load 4s off of whatever his carrier is, like his belly band thing?
Yeah, when he gets it right, it's really fast. But you see him screw it up a lot.
Well, yeah. Fair enough. Sorry, Jeff.
Well, hey, like I said, I mean, he's a very talented shooter. When he outshoots me, he does so by like a commanding margin, and when I outshoot him, it's only by a little bit.
Were you going to say something, Marty?
Is he quad loading, or is he doing the shuffle?
He quad loads.
Yeah, quad loads. So 2 sets of 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have some good footage of him doing it flawlessly, and it's just like, damn, that is fast.
Oh yeah, when he
does it, you can execute that twice, you've filled your mag. You know, my magazine holds 7, or 5.9 of the shell it's chambered for, whatever. And but for his gun, he's running a pump. You know, I think his gun's an 11+1 gun or a 10+1 gun, so he can fire 8 in there no problem.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure him and I have the same magazine extension, so I think his is like 10+1.
Yeah. My 870, which is my backup gun, but it's also open because it has a red dot. I think that's a 9+1. Like guaranteed, but when you're using like Federal Top Gun, it's 10+1. They're just that, short enough for you to get a 10th round in.
Yeah, you get that extra.
Yeah. And Gavin was running an 870. He's not here, so we can shit on him a little bit. His gun, even though it wasn't the malfunction machine that he ordered from Turkey, it was he still had like a catastrophic failure. The little spring that is in his trigger group that is kind of hooked in with his elevator that makes it operate correctly, like broke. It was just gone on stage 3. And I'm assuming a little chunk of it got like lodged in his action, just totally locked his gun up. The guys were nice, and they let him reshoot the stage. But he was a trooper and didn't like swap out a gun with somebody else who was offering guns. I mean, I even had an 870 there that he could have used.
Oh yeah, lots of people, even on open, were offering him guns, but he's like, no, I'm going to stick this out. Like I'm going to use my gun.
Exactly. So he shoots the thing, and every shot he's manually pushing his lifter up to get his shell into the feeding path. And actually, by stage 5, he actually had like a nice rhythm going. Like
that last one we shot, it didn't even look like he was doing anything extra.
Yeah.
It was good. I think it was a good match. I enjoyed it as my first OAS shotgun match. Clearly, my shotgun needs work because I placed poorly. But whatever. Shotgun's one of those things that I basically shoot trap with, and that's it. So this is a whole...
A whole what?
I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I just trailed off because I'm going to cut it out later.
Oh, too bad. Well, yeah, it's a great time, and shotgun is awesome. In particular, just as a shooting discipline, because you can get into it. You can't get into the handgun sports without going through the whole restricted thing. You can get into the shotgun sports without doing that. Shotgun ammunition is relatively inexpensive, and you can't really. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's getting pretty pricey these days, but you can't. When you reload shotgun, unless you're casting your own shot, you really can't do any better than what's there on the retail shelves.
Yeah, factory is the way to go.
Yeah.
It's not precision rifle. It's not high volume handgun. There's no reloading savings to be had. There's no competitive advantage to loading to like power factor.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's good time.
It was good. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly appreciate the beverages and pulled pork afterward at Marty's.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that was awesome, Marty. Thank you so much. Delicious. I'm still thinking about that hot sauce. I like daydream briefly about it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I take that shit seriously.
Not good.
As you should.
I'm like putting hot sauce on my pulled pork, and he's like warning me. He's like, "That's really hot," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure it is." I'm just putting more on. And it was great. It was a great hot sauce. But I just told him the story about when we were at Wild Wing after your course, and I tried to order the hottest wings on the menu, and the waitress was like trying to talk me out of it. She's like, "Are you sure they're really hot? They're like ghost peppers." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. I'm sure they're hot. Give me the hot wings. Come on." And then they weren't.
I've had them like bring it out for me on the side one time because they didn't want to like ruin my wings by having them all coated in that hot sauce.
Yeah. They, not going to go down that path. We could do a whole podcast on like why certain hot sauces aren't hot, but
yeah,
because vinegar is not the same as capsaicin.
That's
exactly it.
It's capsaicin. Capsaicin is where James Cameron is from.
We have been over this. I am not good at the pronunciation.
I've been to Capsaicin. I stayed there at a Super 8. It's a nice town.
I'm editing all of this out. We've been talking about nothing for 10 minutes easily.
I think we've been. That's about it.
Yeah, verbally shitposting for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we news?
Let's do it.
All right. So first story comes to us from the Globe and Mail. The Watchdog calls out Ontario Liberals for concealing data. So this is the Ontario Budget Watchdog saying the province's Liberal government is hiding information from him. So that's probably not a cause for concern, right?
Well, I mean, is anybody surprised by this, first of all?
No. I'm surprised the Globe and Mail is publishing an article bashing the provincial Liberal government in Ontario.
I'll tell you why that also isn't surprising, is because it's a safe environment for them to do so. There's no election, so they can publish this kind of fluff piece. Really, it's nothing, and then kind of give operate under the guise of being bias free. Oh, we're so objective. We're criticizing the ruling government, but really, what are they doing? They're not publishing like the actual the actual shenanigans they're up to. They're not publishing the hard data. How much money's been wasted, all the people they're paying off, all the grease palms, all the money, all the various offshoots of liberal corruption, whether it's green energy or the healthcare system or anything.
This is liberal signaling against other liberal. Look at us. We are unbiased media, which we know is a lie in this country. There is no unbiased media.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look at us right here, right now. We can start tugging on threads and unraveling things to go down the liberal corruption rabbit hole, where it would be totally appropriate in the context of this article, but they choose not to explore it. Why? It's because they're shills.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that. I mean, like they cite things like the Federal Accountability Act, and they talk about like the waste with Ontario Hydro, but they don't actually cite any hard numbers. They don't name names.
Exactly. Like, what's your experience when you talk about politics with people, and you might point out, say, liberal corruption. Let's just say liberals. Then somebody is just going to shrug their shoulders and be like, yeah, that's politics. They're all like that. Right? That's the status quo. A little bit of corruption, a little bit of waste, a little bit of abuse, a little bit of inefficiency is the status quo. That doesn't raise eyebrows. So that's all they're doing by pointing that out.
You get that, or you can't. Well, they're still a lot better than Harper.
Exactly, you get that too. I've got this one guy on my Facebook that I haven't seen him in like 6 years, but same thing. He's an American. He's always talked about how awful Trump is, and his defense of Hillary's misconduct is, oh, look how bad Trump is. It's like that's all they do is oh no, these people are so much worse. I will do nothing to address or actually defend the actions of my preferred party or candidate. I'm just going to sling mud at the other guy. So that's standard.
Yeah, it just makes me sad that there was an opportunity for some journalistic integrity and to actually point out some flaws with the sitting government, and instead they write a fluff article that, I mean, they sort of, in the gentlest way possible, criticize the sitting government.
Mm-hmm.
And really, these guys, in my mind, Adrian Morrow, the guy that wrote this article, should just be destroying the Liberals with what the Financial Accountability Office had to say about them. Like, he should have been pulling stats out of the report and been like, they cost us $10 billion.
Well, at the risk of stereotyping journalists, they're lazy. They're not going to do that. They don't have to. They still get published. Like, if I was the editor or whoever, gives the okay for this type of stuff to make print or get published on the website, I wouldn't publish this. It's like, where's the story? These are all just the claims and quotes. Like, where's the data? That would be my perspective, but they don't have
no incentive for them to do so.
Yeah,
and if anything, there's a disincentive in that they're going to get shit on if they go against sort of their boss's views.
Yeah, and really, the newspaper slant here is really only half the story. The other kind of question I have is, if the headline is "Watchdog calls out Ontario Liberals," does that mean that the Liberals are going to stop concealing data because the Watchdog is upset?
No, of course not.
Does the Watchdog have teeth? No. Nothing. Like, the Watchdog should be able to literally boot in a door and have an armed posse behind them and say, "Give me the goddamn data that I'm asking for." Why, if we have a government accountability office, why do they have to beg and plead for the information they need to do their job?
Well, okay, so follow-up article. There's a second article in the show notes that we have from the Star, and the Financial Accountability Office specifically cites MP Fife, who is the Kitchener-Waterloo MP, with proposed legislation last spring to bring the accountability officer the right to the same information as the Auditor General. How is why does the Watchdog not already have the same information as the Auditor General?
Exactly. What is the justification for this division of power?
Right. And I understand that the Auditor General is inside government agency, and the Financial Accountability Office is an NGO watchdog. But shouldn't they just get CC'd on the same data?
Doesn't the province sign all their checks, though? Don't they really ultimately all work for the same people?
Yes, I think they all do, but I mean, there's that thin veneer of separation that this is an NGO that looks after the government, and this is a government agency, right?
See, but I think I brought this up a week or two ago, in that, if you go to court and you've got the Crown prosecuting you, the Crown prosecutor and the judge, they both work for the same people.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You just have the guise of getting a fair trial, but it's total BS. But really, it's the same thing going on here. You've got people policing themselves. What have we done in the past on this show? Criticized the RCMP for policing themselves, right?
I thought we were going to advocate, changing the government again.
Well, that too. But it's so, whenever there's some grand scheme or some misconduct, the RCMP or the OPP or whoever would just be well, we'll look into it, and we'll make sure that the people are held to account. Well, how often does that ever really happen? The incentive on the part that's always the lens through which we have to look at these things, is where are the incentives, and which direction are the incentives, which path are they going to take us down? And so if the incentive on the part of the government is to appear legitimate as if they are actually like trying to keep things efficient and trustworthy and everything like that, so that they can maintain popular support. The incentives will be to downplay government corruption. It will be to minimize it as much as possible, and to deceive whenever possible. And I'm the skeptic in me, the cynic in me, almost wonders: is this whole thing just an elaborate charade, and that the Financial Accountability Office and the Auditor General are really just playing the game? Oh, we know we're looking into it. The government just isn't playing ball, and then the government will turn around and put their spin on it, and then it will go back and forth until people forget about it, and then everybody's happy because everybody involved got their paycheck and their pension.
Well, for now, I don't think that our generation, because Tyler, Marty, you and I, the three of us, we're all roughly the same age. There's no government pensions for us. There's
Don't
no
want
money
it.
left. I mean,
Don't
you know
want the
what?
blood money.
It's not that I want it. I just want them to stop deducting it off of my paycheck and telling me they're helping me. Like,
Yeah,
stop
that too.
punching me in the face and telling me you're helping.
Yeah. No.
Speaking of telling that you're helping people when you're punching them in the face, also from the Globe and Mail, veterans are disappointed with the lack of delivery on liberal campaign promises. And I actually had this conversation with a number of active duty and prior service folks that I'm friends with during and prior to the election, when they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to vote for Harper," or "I'm not going to vote for Harper. I'm voting for this liberal guy with the hair." And it's like, really? Have you looked at the liberal policies? Are you sure that Justin Trudeau's like your friend? And they're like, "Yeah, he's totally like for veterans." Really? How? And yeah, okay, I feel a little vindicated now, because like 6 months later, and basically nothing with Veterans Affairs Canada has changed. There's not been like massive openings and reopenings of Veterans Affairs Canada offices. They're not doing anything to help anyone that's a veteran of Afghanistan, like anything additional to what was going on before. Like, there have been no significant changes to the way Veterans Affairs Canada works since the Liberals came to power. So I feel a little vindicated. I mean, I still feel bad for other veterans, but I pointed a lot of this out to other vets and active duty, like CAF folks, before the election, and they still thought that electing the shiny pony was their best bet.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. It's about as bad as the gun owners who thought that they would get a better deal under Shiny Pony. There's kind of like multiple facets to the story, in that it's almost like shame on anybody who thinks that the government is going to live up to their promises. But the other thing is there's kind of like a narrative fork in the road, where obviously serving in the military comes with substantially higher risks than like a lot of other occupations, right? And there are certain privileges and compensation that should be afforded to people, who serve in the military, who serve the country, serve their society, risk their lives. There's a lot of valor, that then comes with it. And so the article mentions that $80 million is really all the government committed to this fund to pay for education and whatnot. And
well, okay, so before we go to the detail of that, can we talk about like what that fund is supposed to be? Because I really like the idea of the fund, but like, I mean, I can spot a liberal eye at 1,000 yards easy, and this was like clearly the liberals pandering for a vote that was like historically a solid conservative vote, like military members
yeah,
conservative, right?
Because that was going to go down like deep into an issue. So yeah, if you got it.
Yeah. Well, but briefly, the $80 million is supposed to create a veterans education benefit that would cover the cost of university, and is supposed to be aimed at infantry members whose primary job is combat, which is the polite way of saying to close with and destroy the enemy, which is the polite way of saying to kill people.
Kill people and break things.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's what the infantry is for, right? Like, you close with the enemy regardless of conditions or terrain, and you kill them. And that's not a really marketable skill. There's not a lot of demand for people that can do that once they're done being infantry soldiers. So having that benefit available is a great idea, but the Liberal campaign promise was to have that available basically as soon as they get elected, forever. And based on this $80 million investment, which is never, like, has so far yet to materialize. Sorry, carry on with the rest of your point.
Well, I was just going to say that the article and the advocate quoted in the article mentioned that $80 million is really a drop in the bucket for the government, which is true. It really is. When you look at it, when you look at that $80 million figure next to the total government expenditures, $80 million is nothing. But $80 million is a hell of a lot of money. It's more money than anyone here, probably all three of us and our children, will ever accumulate in their entire lives. Probably total earnings in their entire lives. And like if somebody is paying $20,000 in a given year in taxes, you need 4,000 people to accumulate 80 million in tax revenue. And it's just when the language of not only the government but also the advocate, as if it's as if that money is just laying around, and like, why don't you just give it to us? Like, what else are you going to do with it? But the fact of the matter is that the government is operating on a multi-billion-dollar deficit. We don't have that money. It's not just laying around waiting to be allocated. And I'm not saying that there aren't, like, this is why I was saying, like, there are substantial risks involved in serving, and the pay is shit, and they really should be paid more. That if we're going to offer like benefit packages to anybody, it should be soldiers and not some pencil pusher in Ottawa who gets an extra $20,000 a year just because they're bilingual. It should be for people who actually risk their lives and bleed and get seriously maimed for their country. Yeah. Right or wrong, the causes we can debate endlessly on the show. But it's as if that money is just laying around. But the fact that we don't have that money, and we have billions of dollars of expenditures that we have to borrow just to meet, like our obligations. We have to borrow that money just to meet those obligations. So the conversation shouldn't necessarily be around, we have $80 million, just spend the money. It should be like, what the hell else are you spending this money? What are you prioritizing over us? That should kind of be more so the framework that we should be looking at this issue through. Let's look at the government expenditures that are apparently more important than taking care of our vets. That would be the way I would want to look at this issue, because I do think that it's an important issue and that our vets should be revered and taken care of. And that millions of dollars are allocated to universities to study, mating habits of gay squirrels and all sorts of useless nonsense. We're propping up education departments for just totally fruitless. Just you might as well be throwing the money into a furnace. Just stupid studies after study. So they take an opportunity. They take a cause that unfortunately we know people actually support. Like, I think if you take a poll of Canadians that they would actually want to, you would see a majority that wants to see our vets taken care of. You could actually have enthusiastic popular support for something like this. But it's not being the cause isn't being promoted in the right framework. You could just be like, what did they spend this money on that could have gone to the vets? Not, why don't they just borrow more money to take care of the vets? It's like, where is the money going?
Okay, so on that note, why are we giving $200 million to Iraq to rebuild infrastructure? Why are we giving money to farmers in the Philippines?
Excellent example.
Yeah.
Excellent example. There's that's the best example.
Well, I mean, really, why are we giving money to places where? Sorry, go ahead, Marty.
I was gonna say, just an example of the mentality is just look at the salaries of our active duty versus basically any other government employee.
Well, and I've made that point. I've made that point on this podcast before. If all of a sudden we had a law that said that the military got paid the same as the politicians got paid based on time in service, the politicians would either make a lot less money or the military would make a lot more money really, really fast.
I mean, if you look at the salary, even in private industry, of high-risk jobs or jobs that have potential danger in them, versus what we pay our military. I mean, if you look at police or firemen or any of that kind of thing like that, it's way out of whack in terms of one to the other.
Absolutely.
And but it's not even like that. I mean, if you look at like the random secretary that works in a government building versus what we pay our military, there's a disparity there.
Well,
Oh, hugely.
the libertarian in me also says though that despite the crappy pay, um, military in times where public support for military adventures is high has no problem recruiting people. So
Yeah,
it's
so
just kind of like the market economics at play are like you should pay people as little as possible, like as little as what they will agree to
my
work
argument
for.
wouldn't so much be that the military need to get paid more, but that there shouldn't be a disparity. And my solution to that would be that everybody else would be getting paid less.
Yes, I would agree with that because yeah, I just agree with that.
Well, it's
The public
supposed to
sector
be
is just so
government
bloated and
service, right?
disgusting.
If it's government service, they should be there to serve, sort of the same way that the military is.
I mean, yeah, it's almost like you guys ever read Starship Troopers?
Yeah,
Yeah,
good book.
you remember how they like basically in their society there was a citizen and there was a civilian. And the citizen had a right to vote, and you gain citizenship by serving the society either through federal service, military service, or something else. And that was an interesting way to organize a society. We're not going to go down that here, but I just there should be there should be the public service should not be a like the cash cow that it's become. The sunshine list is disgusting when real wages have stagnated or falling. The pension plans are unheard of in the private sector for the most part. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have anything to add with that. I just have to agree with you because you're 100% spot on.
And what's funny, this always gets me, and I see it all the time in my line of work. I build homes, condos, so I do occasionally. Number one, I do have to deal with primarily the municipal governments, which are they're like the Charmanders, to the federal government's Charizard.
I don't get the reference, but
You don't get
that's
that
all right.
reference, but it's just like you're dealing with the small beast, not the fully grown, armor-plated bullshit that you deal with at the highest level. Yeah, that's right. And so that's not terrible, but I do have my odd brush with the provincial government in the form of Hydro One, and these people. You will have 8, 9, 10 people show up to a job that needs 2 people to complete, 4 trucks, all inside of 3 years old, brand clean, brand new paint jobs, everything like immaculately kept, and you know that they're all very well paid. Only 2 people, or even sometimes 1 person, is actually doing any work, and the rest are standing around, and they all go home and bitch about how hard they work. And you know that they all get paid very well and that they all have very, very nice chins. It's insane. And like we've talked about the deficits, we've talked about the debt. All that's going to come to an end. And it's either going to come to an end the hard way or the easy way. And the easy way is like we have like an actual rational discussion about the long-term economic implications of like the path we're on, and the hard way is we just run out of money, and then it just ends.
My fear is that it's going to be the hard way. My only thing with that is that I wish it would be sooner rather than later.
Well, there are many things that we can do to speed that process up. This is an activity called malicious compliance. Marty and Andrew, do your wives have RPALs, for example?
Yes.
Mine does not.
Well, you should fix that, Andrew. But Marty, why not transfer your AR and any other restricted you have endlessly between the two of you to create mountains of paperwork for the CFO and bankrupt the department?
Oh no, my wife and I have that very plan in the works.
Yeah. Just comply. Comply maliciously. Just backlog the system.
Comply so hard. And actually, Marty and I have talked about this before. Marty and his wife actually share a handgun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is Marty's cue to jump in.
What do you want me to talk about? The crappy new laws we have?
The whole crappy new law. You can't take your Kimber to the range.
Yeah. So previously, before, is it C-51?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So before C-51, the way it worked was you could your ATT was valid for any restricted at your residence, and so we could have restricteds registered in my wife's name, restricted registered in my name, and she could take things and I could take things as long as they're registered to this residence, and that was fine. After C-51, it changed that your ATT, which is now part of your card and all that kind of stuff, your ATT is now only valid for guns registered to you, and is no longer to the residence. And so now, if I want to bring the Kimber or sort of the pistol or the AR, I have to make sure that at the current time that I want to bring it, it has to be transferred into my name. So we have to transfer back and forth depending on who needs to use it.
Now, then, wouldn't the rules about borrowing restricteds come into play as long as you had the valid registration certificate and you were not in unlawful possession, like that? She had given her permission for your possession. Yeah, wouldn't that then be okay? Not that that's really an acceptable workaround, because it's still bullshit. But
exactly, it's more the principle of it for me than anything.
Yeah.
I say that you call the CFO every day and transfer back and forth.
You should. You absolutely
should. They've done an excellent job of making it so that I don't want to call the CFO office and sit on hold for an hour and a half every day.
You don't like that music?
So that I try to call them as little as possible.
See, I have a new game I play with the CFO since the 1022 magazine ban came in. I call the CFO every day, every other day, and I ask somebody in the CFO's office to please email me the law regarding the 1022 magazine. And every day or two, I get an answer saying no. And eventually, I'll get somebody dumb enough to email me in writing from the CFO what the laws are. Because I have nothing to do during the day.
You think that's in writing anywhere?
Well, no, that's the thing. I want them to email it to me because they read me the law every day on the phone. I'm like, great, can you email that to me? No.
Well, here's the thing. They'll read you an RCMP position paper, but the law is obviously unchanged. And as we all know, the law, according to the letter of the law, BX25 and BX25 times 2 magazines, should technically qualify as prohibited, unfortunately. And that is purely hinged upon the classification of the Charger pistol being classified as a pistol and not a restricted rifle, as it should be. But everything else should be good to go.
Well, I still contend that the 1022 magazine, whether it's BX25, BX25 times 2, is not a prohibited device based on the fact that it was designed for a rifle.
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously I agree. In my opinion, the entire Firearms Act should be shot out of a cannon. But
yes. They have a helicopter, if you will.
According to the letter of the law, quotes, or maybe it should be parentheses, they have there's a conversation to be had there, probably in court.
Yeah, I keep calling and asking them for me to give it to me in writing that I'm allowed to use these magazines or not.
Yeah, you know what? Just don't comply. Whatever. Just
no,
why even
I'm
bother?
Not complying. Because I sit in an office almost all day, every day, and I can sit on hold for 90 minutes and wait for somebody to read me the law and refuse to email it to me. Yeah, because I'm clogging up the system and contributing to Marty's wait time.
Yeah, but when it was the Swiss Arms CZ thing, I just don't ask. Don't ask. Whatever. Just carry on as if their edicts don't matter, because they don't. They only have power if you care.
It's not so much that I care. It's that I really want to get it in writing from the Ontario CFO that they're in disagreement on paper from the RCMP.
Well, you have it in writing though in the actual wording of the law itself. The law itself is in conflict with the RCMP statement, so just carry that.
I understand that, but I would really like something from the Ontario CFO saying that the Ontario CFO says.
Yeah, their opinion is worthless, though. It has no legal standing.
But I live in their jurisdiction, so they're the people that I can refer the local law enforcement to. I know.
I just show them the law. Just wave the law in their face.
I'm just holding up the system is really all I'm doing.
Well, I'll just give you, I'll reflect on personal experience. I was in a situation a month and a half ago or whatever in Brockville. Officer thought that I had broken the law by having no trigger lock on my rifle. I just stated twice that the only requirement for the transport of a non-restricted firearm is that it be unloaded. That's the law. I just merely had to state it confidently twice, and then he backed off. So.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I'm interesting. Here's an aside that you can cut out later, Andrew. But I just looked up the Bulletin 72 or whatever for the magazine restrictions.
Yeah.
And there's a section under the designed or manufactured for rimfire caliber rifles and handguns. And it gives the BX-25 magazine chamber for 22 LR caliber is designed and manufactured for use in the Ruger SR-22 rifle, the 10-22 family of rifles carbines, and the 22 Charger handgun. As a result, this magazine is a prohibited device unless modified so its capacity is 10 cartridges or less. It says this information was not included in the original version of this bulletin. It was added on 2013, September 5th.
Yeah, we talked about this. Don't you listen to the show?
No, it was added in 2013.
I think that's when the BX-25 came on the market.
Yeah, so they retroactively added a thing in Bulletin 72 and said Bulletin 72 is now the law, which it's not because it's a bulletin. No. It's not a law.
And how the hell did they backdate this edition to 2013?
Because they changed Bulletin 72. Bulletin 72 came out, what, originally in like 06 or 08 or something?
Yeah.
And they republished it in 13 after creating an FRT reference for the 10-22 Charger handgun, pistol, whatever, and said that the magazines are now prohibited devices. And they looked at when the E Division broadcast came out, like in the middle of July, saying that the BX-25 and other Ruger 10-22 magazines are prohibited. On July 28th, they sent a notice saying, look at this Bulletin 72 that we released in 2013. It says these are prohibited. We just have been selectively choosing not to enforce this law.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so like the whole thing is bullshit on various levels.
Yeah. Yep.
Because the law, Section 3 of the Firearms Act, is not written that way. Rimfire magazines...
It's just weird. I just never noticed this. I just never noticed this comment about the 2013 being added before.
Oh yeah. There's an original version which is like, I forget which year, 06 or 08, something like that. And then there's the addendum year of 2013 where they like, because I'm sure that's the year that they created the FRT number for the Charger pistol, and we're like, by the way, all the mags are now prohibited.
You know, this isn't even the first time we've been screwed on this. Remember the Smith & Wesson M&P 15? Yeah. M&P 1522? Really, it's the same thing in that they marketed the pistol, they marketed the short barrel rifle as a pistol to get around the SBR laws in the U.S., entered the Canadian market as a pistol as well, and then therefore the 25-round magazine, I believe it is, had to be limited to 10. It's the same thing.
Well, it's still
a little bit.
I'm not saying it's not. It's still bullshit though, because the magazine was originally designed for a rifle.
Well, I'm saying two things in that, number one, yes, it's originally designed for a rifle. Number two, that the pistol should have never been classified as a pistol in Canada. And number three, the only reason why the 1022 thing, why we're facing the 1022 thing now is because Canadian gun owners didn't fight the M&P 1522 thing 2 years ago.
Yes, you're right on all three counts. And something that actually really bothers me with this is the whole like definition of a pistol in Canada is fucking fluid as fuck.
Yeah.
There is no definition of pistol in our laws.
It's like almost up to the manufacturer.
Well, that's the thing, is it's like you can decide it's a pistol. Like, it gets an FRT number as a pistol, but there's nothing like, there's no technical characteristic that determines if a firearm is a pistol or not.
I mean, if you were to ask, like, your layman, you know, what's a pistol, they'd be like, oh, it's a gun that can be fired single-handedly. Maybe fired and operated single-handedly. I don't know. but there's really no objective definition for it.
Well, and but I mean, the whole thing is like we're getting into this whole like long, circular, drawn-out argument about nothing because really the entire Firearms Act doesn't make any fucking sense.
And the position
and we know that that's on purpose.
Yeah, the position of everybody here is that there should be two classes of gun and not gun.
Yeah,
I think
I'm amenable to that. Like, I've made that argument before on the show, like really early in the show, like I don't know, like episode 4 or 5 or something. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's full auto or semi-auto or single shot. A gun is a gun is a gun, and I haven't harped on that lately. But for reiteration, a gun is a gun is a gun, and it doesn't matter if it's full auto or semi-auto or single shot bolt action. It doesn't matter. A gun is a gun. The Firearms Act needs to be scrapped. I don't care if it has the shoulder thing that goes up. A gun is a gun. Like,
I'm pretty sure my competitive shotgun, has a shoulder thing that goes up.
It needs a shoulder thing that goes up, and a heat shroud, and one of those muzzle things, and probably a bayonet, because we may as well put as many features on them as possible just to trigger the people that are afraid of an inanimate object.
Yeah, but I mean, a pistol grip would be too much, though.
No, a pistol grip, an extended magazine, a foregrip, like an extra pistol grip. Put like 4 pistol grips on it. I don't fucking like.
Because sometimes I want to hold it like a Sten, you know? I want to hold it on the left side.
The entire Firearms Act needs to be destroyed because the Firearms Act intentionally does not make sense. And it doesn't, like, they don't use it to send criminals to jail. They use it to make paper criminals out of people that legally own firearms. There really should. Yeah, well, you're right, though. Like, it should be things that are guns and things that are not guns.
Gun owners show up to court. That's what it's all about. Drug dealers don't. Illegal immigrants don't. Flight risks don't. Gun owners show up to court. So they get the convictions. That's what it's all about. It's security feeder.
Yeah, it is. It's yeah, that's the best way to put that. It's to make the normies feel good that they're doing something. Yeah.
It's to soothe their jimmies, to soothe the butthurt. They apply the the convictions under the Firearms Act. That's like a balm, and they apply that to the butthurt, and then it makes Canada safe again.
I don't want to talk about Rachel. Huh? No, we're moving on. I don't want to talk about Rachel Notley. Do you guys want to talk about Rachel Notley? Because basically, fuck Alberta.
She sucks. I was actually in Alberta on election night when she was elected. I was sitting on the couch drinking a beer with my friend, and he's just like, well, god damn it. And he just like knocked all the beer cans off the table. He's so upset.
All right, good. That's a solid no on talking about minimum wage in fucking Alberta. Fuck Rachel Notley. That's my position.
Minimum wages make everybody wealthier, though?
Do you actually want to talk about minimum wage?
No, I'm kidding.
Because we could talk about minimum wage, but Rachel Notley just makes me mad.
No, let's move on.
Okay, let's go to North Vancouver then. So coming to us from MSN.com, North Vancouver is putting warning labels on gas pumps. And this is the whole fucking nanny state thing in action that drives me nuts. Like, okay, so now we have warning labels on our cigarettes, and we have warning labels on our gas. Like, why not just shrink wrap your car with a giant warning label that says drunk driving kills people, or like cars are responsible for so many thousands of deaths out of every million? Like, just put warning labels on everything, because clearly we're not adults enough to make our own decisions.
Like, all government correspondence should come with a warning label saying that, like, the sender of this letter has killed more people than all of the stuff we try and warn you about combined.
Well, I don't get the, like, the gas pump, like the actual pump that you have to pick up to put in the car says, warning, use of fuel products contributes to climate change, which may cause drought and famine. And then it's like a bunch of, like, I don't know, sub-Saharan people chasing one another around, and one of them is randomly on fire.
I have something. Maybe we could have warning labels that say... go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm like, I know myself, if I saw that warning label, I would just... Yeah, that would change my mind. I wouldn't fill up with gas. I'd just leave my truck there and walk away.
Bullshit.
You know what? I would do that. I would do that in the sense of I would walk into the kiosk or whatever and be like, I'm not going to fill my vehicle up here. I'm going to go to another station that doesn't have this because of.
Yeah, no, I would totally call out the operators of
That's
these
what I
gas
would.
stations and be like, really?
Yeah.
You want to alienate me as a customer because I'm not going to give you money now.
Yeah.
Like, I hope the government is going to subsidize you off of my tax dollars because I'm not giving you money for your product.
Or those little ads on the handles. You just peel that little plastic cover up and you can just put whatever underneath
Oh,
it. So
yeah,
you can do like we can
That's
make
what,
up like little CPP, like logos.
I
We could
don't
do
understand.
like the QR code to go to the website. We could put that on there.
Yes, everyone, go out and guerrilla market for me, please. I don't get that. Like, using fuel contributes to climate change. Okay, so maybe we should stop buying our oil from like Saudi Arabia and start using Canadian oil, so we're not like encouraging like third world despots to kill their people based on their religious views. For starters, for finishers, maybe we should just build more fuel efficient cars, since we know that the automotive sector is bad at building cars, because they're disincentivized by the government to keep producing less fuel-efficient vehicles than theoretically what they should be able to do.
I mean, there's so many angles we can shitpost about this, topic.
God, like this entire topic just makes me mad. Like, this product contributes to climate change. Oh my God, the climate has been changing since forever. It's what happens on Earth.
Yeah. Like, why do you think the Norse don't have a colony in Greenland anymore? It's because climate change wiped out their green.
Because it got too frickin' cool.
That's right. So if we're worried about foreign countries and famine, foreign aid enables famine because they grow dependent on free food. Right?
Well, you ever see those signs that say,
they don't
like,
develop
don't feed
national...
the pigeons because they'll, like, become dependent?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same concept. Don't feed the people that don't have money because they'll become dependent.
So if foreign aid enables famine due to us undermining their own agricultural development, then therefore paying your taxes enables famine.
Well, we've been over this before.
We can connect those dots. So let's do that. Let's put those at the gas pumps. Paying taxes, and then put like a starving African child like next to that. And then maybe we can kind of send home the message that like government causes like death and suffering.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little too
Your
grim.
taxes paid for the war that killed this child.
Yeah. Every dollar kills an African child.
Well, I don't understand the incredible like leftist signaling in this article. Like, it's just like cigarette labels. If we put graphic labels on cigarettes, they're terrible and nasty to look at. We can put these on gas pumps. No, because it doesn't prevent people from smoking. We have to put cigarettes behind unmarked counters. You can't display what the product is. You can't run advertisements for it. If that worked, people wouldn't buy cigarettes and die from lung cancer. Bad news, people buy cigarettes and then die from lung cancer.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It's proven to not work. It may reduce in some small factor the number of people that die from smoking cigarettes, but that doesn't work. Why do you think it would work with gasoline? You're some kind of communist, liberal, hippie motherfucker.
Now here's sidebar on the cigarette thing. This is the mess that we get into with a publicly funded healthcare system. Is you now create an incentive on the part of the government to regulate people's lifestyle choices and their, personal choices. Like, for example, like somebody smokes, maybe they smoke like a pack a week. Probably not going to cause an undue death at age 51. It might, but probably not. And then compare that to somebody who drinks like a liter of Coke a day. That guy's probably going to die at like 45 of like a massive heart attack.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like high fructose corn syrup just clogging things up.
Yeah, there are lots of other lifestyle choices that can kill you or cause like tremendous harm to your health, and then place that burden on the healthcare system. But we get into this mess where now the government has to start regulating people's life choices, their dietary choices. It will even get to, if they really crunch the numbers hard enough, it will even get to the point where they regulate their sleeping habits and things like that, because these all have detrimental effects on your health. So that you just wonder, like, where does it end when the government goes down that path? When it comes to cigarettes, or something similar, then maybe there are other solutions where you can just be like, I waive you when you if you want to smoke, I don't care. That's your choice. If you enjoy it, do your thing. I don't care. Maybe you sign a little waiver saying that like I cannot I am responsible for the cost of my own health care because this is not due to chance. This is not something society agreed to bail me out for. This is something I am doing to myself, and I accept responsibility for it, and I will pay for it. If I, suffer ailments that are directly caused by my smoking, then I'll pay for it. Like maybe we can kind of do that.
Yeah, no, we talked about this before. Go ahead, Marty.
I was going to say, can we start up a campaign that breathing is leading to carbon dioxide buildup, and just get all the liberals to try holding their breath for a while?
Yeah. They should take the plastic bag challenge.
Yeah.
This episode's kind of fashy, but I'm okay with it.
A little fashy. It's good though. You could do the plastic bag challenge at high altitude right before you kick them out of a helicopter.
I have to take this part out. There's a line, and we've surpassed it.
You could play like, some sort of ode to Pinochet on the loudspeakers as they, tumble over the ramp at the back of the helicopter. No? Okay.
Editing. So much editing. The good news is it's in YouTube forever. Okay. Do you have anything else with the whole climate change gas pumps nonsense? Because it makes me mad, and I have nothing good to say about it.
Not really. Yeah, it's stupid. I guess really what rustles me the most is that you have like city councils of like, major municipalities giving the time of day to like 18-year-old activists that have like causes with no factual backing. It's like, don't you have anything better?
Why do we have to treat 18-year-olds as adults? Like, you know what?
What I found frustrating with the article is that when I read the article, they were like, this 18-year-old asked us to do this. And we looked into it, and we realized that we could do it. Like, they realized that they had the...
they had the ability to,
the ability to do it. And so they did it. Like, there was nowhere in here was there, like, that we, looked at if we should do it, if this would make any difference, if this would do... Like, that didn't... They're just like, oh, we have the power, we need to use this power.
Have I advocated for a monarchy lately? Because I really feel like government shouldn't be involved in this. If an individual business wants to print out a sign that's like, you contribute to climate change, and there's a bunch of like sub-Saharan individuals running around, and one of them is, for some reason, inexplicably, randomly on fire in the advert, fine. You put up your stupid ad, and I just won't buy my gas from you. Because you're bad at business.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be able to do it on cigarettes either.
No, they shouldn't be able to do it on cigarettes. And I don't understand why they haven't started doing it on alcohol yet, but I'm sure that that's in the works.
Yeah. And a lot of people might say, oh, well, if you shouldn't be able to do it on cigarettes, then why don't people just sell cigarettes without the labels? Well, they do. That's why people go to native reserves to buy cigarettes. And I guarantee you, if the attack on gasoline continues down this path and the taxation gets too high, you will create a market for illegal gasoline.
Yep.
Oh my God, the YouTube comments are gold.
From a political attack, go after them for profiting on climate change.
You can't, because if you speak about climate change in this country, you'll get charged in jail by the Liberal government because
isn't that hate speech now to dispute the state religion of climate change?
It is. It is hate speech to disagree with climate change.
Climate change is real. It's happening, and it's being caused by this. Why is the government profiteering on this climate change?
Oh, that's
because
gold.
They can.
I love that angle.
Why do you ask that question? Because they can.
That is a great angle, though. That angle is amazing.
Yeah, use their own tools against them.
Like guns, you mean?
Helicopters?
No, but I mean, of course. Like the question is,
YouTube
why?
comments are gold.
Well, of course. Why not? Why wouldn't they? It's a profit-making opportunity. Why wouldn't they?
Okay, the YouTube comments are less gold. Thanks, Byron.
That was a reference to throwing ropes. That comment. It's a great comment. It's an A+ comment right there.
Really?
5 toilets out of 5.
Spider-Man is an A+ comment now?
Yeah, because it's a throwback to my throwing ropes of cum.
I'm cutting this out of the edited version.
What? I want to see the percentage difference of time between the YouTube feed and the actual audio podcast.
75, easily 3/4.
It's fun, dude. It's fun. Everybody
likes
the YouTube version. It's so good.
The YouTube version is gold, but the YouTube version is not commute friendly with children.
It's definitely not safe for work.
No.
The YouTube version is why I stay anonymous on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't get what are they gonna do? Fire me? Who's gonna do my job?
Yeah.
Who will build the roads?
I just not 3 hours ago listened to a rant about how incompetent my equivalent worker in another town is. I'm just like, well, I'm safe.
Yep, I'll still have a job. All right, let's talk about the article from the Calgary Herald. Calgarians living in extreme poverty will soon pay just $5.15 for a monthly Calgary Transit Pass, a 95% discount off the regular price. Holy crap! It costs $100 a month to ride the bus in Calgary?
That's a total transit pass. I think it includes the subway too.
But holy crap, that's an expensive. That rivals Toronto in transit pass pricing.
Okay, hold on. What's a reasonable fare for a bus? $2?
Reasonable fare is the amount it costs to run a bus divided by the number of people that are using it.
Well,
exactly.
No. That is not true. The reasonable fare is what people will pay for that service. The cost is totally irrelevant to the value of the service.
Yeah.
How much would you pay for a bus ride?
Not a damn cent. I'd take an Uber.
Okay. Sure. Whatever.
I refuse to ride with the plugins, but I see the point.
Hop on a bus for $2. It takes you from point A to point B. Is that cool?
Yeah, no, I see the point you're making, and I think $2 is reasonable. Okay, I don't see the problem with $2.
You take a bus in the morning. You take a bus in the afternoon. That's $4 a day. You take a bus every day.
Yeah, I get the point. It's $120 a month if you ride the bus every day.
It's not unreasonable, and we know that the bus is more than $2. In Oakville, it's it was $2.25 when I was in high school, 10 years ago. So it's probably $3.50 now. So it's probably $200 a month if you take the bus every day both ways. So $100 a month is probably kind of a bargain.
Yeah, a transit pass in Toronto right now is $140 a month.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know, but Toronto is where I had to buy transit passes because that's where I went to university. So that's the number that I know. Yeah, well, that's where the university was. It wasn't my choice, but it is what it is. I don't understand this whole approving transit decreases for low-income people because this has to be subsidized out of government coffers, which means the people that pay taxes and likely own automobiles are the people that are paying the other $95 for these people to ride the bus.
What's interesting in that, obviously, the people that are on the low-income bracket are not paying the full cost of their pass, right? So it would be interesting to know where the shortfall is made up. Are the people paying the full price? How much profit is being made on that? And then how much of that profit is then being reallocated to subsidize the shortfall on the low income?
That's a great point. That is a great point. And if it's like Toronto, it's probably very little because TTC operates basically at a loss, and the Toronto taxpayers subsidize TTC
bail them out
service
every year, yeah. So that would be, essentially yes. Is the top pay tier high enough that they just reallocate some of that profit, eat a little bit of profit margin, and make it work, or does the city kind of get screwed?
I imagine the city gets screwed, but again, I don't live in Calgary. I've never used the mass transit for the plebs in Calgary. But if it's anything like Toronto, which I like to imagine that it is, because it's another major like metro center, the people that work for, we'll call them the Calgary Transit Authority, whoever owns the buses there, probably make a ridiculous amount of money to do things like collect fares and drive the buses. Because that's the way it works in Toronto, because, like, where else can you make the Sunshine List and drive a bus?
Yeah. Crazy.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's 100% ridiculous. I don't understand, though, if there's such a demand for mass transit in Calgary, why does it need to be subsidized? Why is it not able to be self-sufficient?
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? I didn't. At least in the article in the show notes there, I didn't realize. I didn't notice any bit there where the city was subsidizing the transit system.
It doesn't expressly say in the article that the city is subsidizing the transit system, but it doesn't expressly say that the people that are paying 100% of the rate are also paying the full, like, enough to... So, again, I'm basing this off of what I know about other transit systems not in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
But what other transit system actually makes enough money to be self-sufficient? Not Toronto, not Kitchener, not London, not Stratford, not any of the cities I'm familiar with.
They're usually artificially low, yes. So usually the taxpayer as a whole is subsidizing the transit system. Yeah, I'm on board with that. I agree with that statement.
Well, that's the point. Like, if this is such an in-demand service, why is it not self-sufficient, and why do they need to lower the rate so that low-income people can afford to pay it? Like, it should just stop existing. They'll find alternate means of getting to work, or whatever it is they're going to do on the transit system.
Yeah, I mean, if you're paying like $140 a month, for a transit pass, I mean, that's basically I don't know anything about insurance payments, car insurance payments, outside of Ontario, but I'm pretty sure they're all kind of on the low end in Alberta. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe $140 a month. What does that work out to be? 140.
$1,200 a year.
That's $1,680 a year, plus gas, right? So you're really not all that far off from just like owning your own vehicle outright, because you can get like a cheap. You know what? No, forget it.
You're not driving a car for $1,600 a year, though.
I'm pretty sure,
not insurance, gas, maintenance, tires, all that kind of shit. You're not driving a car for $1,600.
No, you're probably in for like $3,200 minimum.
Yeah.
But it's just like if transit can't compete with owning a vehicle, then transit shouldn't exist. To Andrew's point, I think
that's the point that I'm making. So, like, it says the province kicked in $13.5 million in funding over 3 years to help pay for this. Like, why does mass transit exist if it's not self-sufficient?
Socialism, bro.
That's what helicopter rides, bro. Like, that's my answer to socialism.
Yeah, that's why I said the only socialism I'll endorse is free helicopter rides for leftists.
Oh, it's not even free. I'm billing their estate.
Yeah, bill the estate. That's great. Yeah, claw it back from their estate. I like it.
Man, this is a really fashy episode.
Mussolini approved. But yeah, no, I agree. And this is kind of like, it's a weird thing too, in that like the bus pass is like where does it end? When we talk about our tax brackets, we have a progressive tax system where, like, as you make more money, you get taxed at a higher rate.
Which I still contend is like an absolute like bullshit way of taxing people.
It is
because
it's redistribution of wealth.
Well,
yes.
No, it's not even the redistribution of wealth. It's where do they take money from people? Like, that's the part that has me. Taxes are like a disincentive to do it. So if you're going to tax the people that make more money, it's a disincentive to make more money.
Absolutely.
So why would I want to make more money?
If a tax on beer or cigarettes is intended to deter drinking or smoking, then a tax on labor does what?
deters labor? I don't know. Like,
well, let's think of it this way, especially in Canada where we have a progressive tax system. If as you work harder and harder, you have an exponentially decreasing rate of return on your effort, what does that encourage you to do or not do?
Okay, so to be fair, I wouldn't say
hold on. Just answer that question. Just answer that question. Okay, maybe not exponentially. To be fair,
I wouldn't.
Proportionally.
It's not exponential, but I see the point you're making. Proportionally, yes.
Proportionally,
the tax on labor,
for the amount of effort you put in, the more and more effort you put in, you get less. You get a crappier rate of return.
You get a lower return, yes. Okay. And I am totally on board with that because I don't support income tax in this country.
Yeah,
I can kind of, sort of, well, have we said this in a while? Taxation is theft?
It is.
Because if we haven't, let's remind our listeners that taxation is theft.
Straight up theft.
It is theft. Well, it is theft. I mean, there's no other way around it. Taxation is theft. The government is stealing...
One more time.
Taxation is theft.
Thank you.
The government is stealing the products of your labor. That's what that comes down to. Like, full stop. The government is stealing from you. What's that, Marty?
By force.
Yeah, by force. If you don't give the government the product of your labor, you will be shot. That's what it comes down to. I can kind of understand a tax on consumption, because if we're going to fund stuff through, like, public works and whatever, the government needs a source of revenue. The government in Canada is massively way bigger than it needs to be, because why does Ontario, as an example, have the largest sub-sovereign debt? Because it employs more government employees than any other sub-sovereign state in the planet? Like, I forget what the per capita rate is, but it's something ridiculous. Like in California, like it's like 100 people per 1,000 that work for the government, and in Ontario it's like 400 people per 1,000 or whatever. I forget what the actual number is, but we have the highest number of government employees per capita in Ontario of anything in the world.
You're going to get into a fight with Sean Bevins over that. I'm pretty sure Quebec is higher.
Is Quebec higher?
According to Bevins, he's not the authority on everything, although I do respect his opinion.
And he says he's the authority on everything, which by default makes it true, right? That's how government works.
Dude's a solid man.
He's a good dude. I hope he's listening.
When it comes to Quebec, I trust him.
Yeah, he's lived there. He's lived there for like 20 years. He moved. He went there in the 90s, when it was like ready to separate, and they were like fed up with the government. And he's kind of, he's like a minarchist, kind of an anarchist type of kind of guy. He's like, good, these people want nothing to do with the federal government. This is going to be great. And he goes there, and it's just like unions, massive public sector. Yeah. It's like the total opposite of what he wanted. But then he falls in love with a lovely woman, and now he's stuck there.
That's not true. He could move.
Well, no. When you make a home somewhere, it's not the easiest.
I get that. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've been playing with the idea of getting the hell out of Ontario, because Ontario, man. Oh man, Ontario. But
Andrew and I just very briefly in the pre-show, just mentioned the Green Energy Act and a bit of the shenanigans that are at play there. I really hope that we can do an episode on that in the near future.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I do have some insight. I worked in that industry for 3 years, making power lines for the solar farms. So there's some insight, some juicy bombs I'm going to drop.
All right, let's transition to rapid fire feedback. First one comes from
just pulled the red cord on this one, aren't you?
Oh yeah, no, it's 10 to 11. I got to go to bed in 20 minutes.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Before, just one last thing on the Calgary thing. The very first comment on the article is from David Johnston, which I believe is the name of our Governor General. It says, "Yay for Calgary, which now boasts the lowest housing costs around. Live on a bus. Just a bit of humor, but really a great move, and should be available to the rich as well. Just tax the crap out of driving cars." So there are comments that I have on that comment, but
would you like to make those comments? Because I'd like to hear them, because I have some comments on that comment, because that you can consider my Jimmy is totally rustled at this point.
I mean, okay, no, Andrew, you got the floor on this one. I just want to point out that this guy has no profile picture and he has 4 friends. It's obviously a fake sock puppet account, maybe who wrote the article just to prop it up. Total shill, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
you have to watch out. You have to watch out for this nonsense because this is what the establishment does.
I'm totally on board with that, but in the context of the comment itself and not the quality of the character of the sock puppet that is posting it. I have a 45-kilometer commute to work. How am I supposed to do that on mass transit? There is no transit between
It's going to take you
Stratford.
like 2.5 hours.
Or I walk and it takes a week.
Or you take the Greyhound and get like a 10% chance of being beheaded like every day.
There is no bus service at a way that I would be able to work my job for 8 hours and then get home to my spouse from the place I live to the place where I work. Additionally, I have a business where I'm required to transport things from my home where I store things to the gun range where I teach stuff. And without a pickup truck, I don't know how I would get the materials from my home to my business. Like, I can't put 200 pounds of lumber and steel on a Greyhound bus. It just doesn't work.
And because everything that you do and everything that you're saying goes against sort of the agenda. Like, you're supposed to be living in a condo within the city limits.
Yes,
where you
I
have
am part of
no...
the 1% because I live in a town, unlike some people that live rurally. But again, how would you do like 90% of your stuff without a pickup truck? That's what I'm saying. Like, that's... I understand.
You gotta remember, the goal is that you're living and relying on the government.
Yes,
that's the
and
goal.
I understand that. That is the goal, and we buck that goal on Canadian Patriot Podcast because I would say generally we don't like the government and we don't like living within their confines.
Yeah, definitely true for me. So.
Well, I'm relatively confident that Marty bought his home where he bought his home expressly to not have to deal with shenanigans.
Yeah. I went through a lot of city bylaws and walked away from a lot of properties because of like conservation authorities or just stupid city bylaws and things like that.
He unwittingly bought his property like 4 minutes from my girlfriend's family farm, so he's probably going to see a lot of me. So that might be worse.
Yeah, there's worse things in life than seeing a lot of Tyler. Just make sure he's wearing his pants.
I'm fine with no pants as long as he has his plane vest on.
That fell really flat. All right, moving on.
What do you want from me?
Well, I guess it's not fair to criticize Marty because he has the whole like 10-second rural internet delay.
I'm not gonna like insinuate you're gay. I know you're married, and I know your wife listens to the show, and that you actually want to see me without pants on. That would be like really off color. I would never do that.
All right, rapid fire.
I'm not going to make statements. I'm not going to say that you're like aroused by the thought of me naked. I wouldn't do that.
Are you saying you don't think you're an attractive man, Tyler?
I don't know if I'm your type. I think your type is a lovely woman, a lovely brunette. But I might be somebody else's type.
Cutting all of this. Anyway, I'm glad we do this live to YouTube, so it's there for posterity. Shall we do rapid fire feedback?
Let's get into it.
Excellent. Rapid fire feedback. Email from the letter B. What's your take on this? And Kim Campbell will be choosing our Supreme Court judges now. This comes to us from the Globe and Mail, or I guess the article is from the Globe and Mail. This comes to us from B. Today's rapid fire feedback is brought to you by the letter B. So, going to the Globe and Mail. Why Canada has a new way to choose Supreme Court justices? I don't know. What is your guys' thoughts on this?
Did you have a chance to read the article, Marty?
No, you?
Yeah, I read it, and the whole
reading
thing.
It now, actually.
Okay, well, read it while I comment. The whole thing is really kind of funny because they spend like the government's explanation and the article's explanation as to everything is like how it's so much better than the way it used to be, and how it's so transparent and more reflective of the population, like way more representative. And it's like, if you want a representation of the population, then just open it up to an election. But all they've done is they've expanded the oligarchy that gets to appoint the Supreme Court justice. That's all they've done. And
that's my entire issue with this, is like saying that it's the appointment of the Supreme Court justice is one of the most important decisions a prime minister makes. No, that's not something that a prime minister should make. I still contend, and we've talked about this briefly on the show before, that judges should be elected in this country, because if you're bad at being a judge, you should get voted out of office.
Absolutely, and I would extend that to chiefs of police as well.
You know what? I hold that true to be of basically any government position. If you want to work in government service outside of the military, because voting people in the military is just like that is a purely a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's how you end up with a commander-in-chief who's like Justin Trudeau.
Well, exactly. Like, voting for the military is a bad plan. The military needs to be structured in a certain way to be functional. But it
needs to consist of hard men ready to kill people and break things.
Well,
so having just read this,
yes,
so they basically made the entire process for nominating the Supreme Court bench. They've given it to a group of liberal organizations.
Excellent children.
So they've just ensured that the Supreme Court bench will now be populated entirely with liberals. And they've removed the ability for any conservative to ever get in there again.
Yes, because it's 2016. It is the current year. This is the BS that is perpetuated by the leftists that negatively impact the rest of the country, because JT and his shiny fucking pony hair won by a landslide, or 0.1% less than the Conservatives won the last election by.
You remember that election? That was glorious. Oh.
I just to reiterate,
my home movies of like the live election results that I watch and drink. When I'm feeling like upset. Those were the good days.
Landslide of an election where the Liberals lost by where the Liberals lost. Fuck sakes! I can't speak.
You know what would help? You should have another beer.
You know what? I'm getting down on the rum, man. Where the Liberals won by 0.1% less than what the Conservatives won by the previous election by.
Quick question. Liberals, governing party of Canada at the time, I'm reluctant to admit that, but they have the controlling share in the House of Commons. 56% of the seats, I want to say, 56, 57%. What would you say, anybody, hoping neither one of you have done the math, what would you say the percentage of Canadians, total Canadians, is who actually actively voted for the Liberals?
I want to say it's like 31%.
Marty?
Probably not even that much.
19.38% of Canadians cast a vote for the Liberals.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm with you.
It's about 39-ish% of the actual vote, which itself is a lesser percent of the eligible electorate, which itself is a lesser percent of the total Canadian population. When you boil that down, it's about 19.38% of the total Canadian population actually endorses this government, and this is what we're stuck with. So let that sink.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to when you broke that down. Was that only voting age, or that's all Canadians?
That is total Canadians. Well, less than 1/5 of all of Canada actively voted for, regardless of who was eligible to vote, but actively voted for this government. So less than 1/5 of the country gets to decide how this country is run. So let that sink in.
Well, I mean, that is by definition an oligarchy.
Yeah.
I am really thoroughly dismayed to be living in Canada, particularly Ontario, at this point in history. In case that is not abundantly clear to our listeners.
I mean, I really, it was probably I haven't crunched the numbers on the conservative victory years ago, but I mean the numbers probably work out to be more or less the same.
Well, it's exactly the same because they won by a tenth of a percent more of the people that voted.
Exactly. So
if you guys won by 19, like if 19% of the people, like of 19% of Canadians elected a Liberal government, then 20% of Canadians elected a Conservative government, tops.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this would be an interesting point in time to ask the question, like, how could we fix the electoral system? I mean,
Helicopter rides.
Helicopter rides would definitely go to great lengths to improve the situation.
I have contended before that anyone that wants to be in politics is automatically disqualified from being in politics.
You have to be like reluctantly like pushed onto the stage.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. Like
fighting it the whole way.
It needs to be a write-in ballot. Like so,
sure.
Not to dwell on U.S. politics because this is not an American show, but like the whole Trump, Hillary, or maybe Johnson thing.
He'll never win.
No,
he won't.
No
he won't. And I know he won't win.
He's total cuck.
But he's lost his own voter base, even.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, because he is a total cuck. But could you imagine if every prior service American wrote in General James Mattis? 10% of Americans have been in the U.S. military. I forget what the exact number is. 9%? Something like that?
You still wouldn't win.
But just think of a General Mattis presidency.
I mean, that'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
I mean, that'd be sweet.
I think this is an entire other topic for what random dumb ideas we have to fix the election process.
Helicopter rides. I contend that it's helicopter rides.
Well, the only point
these days.
No, the only point. Well, I mean, it's just like such a great solution. It's like
it's so
like, oh, you're having trouble sleeping, or you feel kind of crappy in the morning. Take a multivitamin. This is like the multivitamin of politics. Helicopter rides. But
oh my God, that's gold. I'm putting it at the beginning of the show.
One of the solutions that I would propose would be like if you have an outcome of an election where you have fewer people voting than people who actually actively endorse one political party's position, that means that you have a vote of non-confidence in the choices. That's the winner of the election, and it forces a redo. Or it just means that maybe, hey, no legislation gets passed for 4 years. Maybe we'll have that. That would be pretty great, right?
That would be the best form of government. If
no assaults on the government that governs least governs best. So maybe we have no assaults on our freedoms for 4 or 5 years at a time. Then maybe this country could get its act in gear and really compete on the global stage.
Well, we've talked about this a little bit before. My opinion is that the best form of government is still a monarchy because it's the least intrusive form of government.
Boom. Triple H, man. Hans Hermann Hoppe. I don't have the book in front of me. I went to go grab it, but it's not there anymore. Sorry.
It's not there. No, but I mean, really, if you have to have a government, then a monarchy is the least intrusive form of government.
I mean, it really is. And the incentives, right? I mentioned incentives early in the episode. The way the incentives work is you have a monarchy. The monarch views the government, the state, as his personal property or her personal property, and therefore there is less of an incentive to actually expend the capital resources of the state, actually own them. Whereas when you have a publicly owned government, there's no incentive to not expand everything, which is why we owe how many billions of dollars in Ontario? 300 plus?
300. We broke 300 2 weeks ago.
Exactly, right? This would never happen in a monarchy. And the same thing when it comes to wars, although Canada historically has not been a very warlike nation. The foreign adventures have been, far and few between. But in a monarchy, you actually have to pay for them. Personally, your family, your children have to pay for them. So there's less of an incentive.
Discourages that. That's exactly.
So, there are definitely pros to private government, which is essentially what monarchy is. It's obviously not
titles you get.
Yeah, the titles. Yeah.
Knights. Everyone gets to be a knight.
This is a discussion we could have for hours on end, so maybe we'll not go too far down that. If the listeners are interested, we should definitely revisit it. But there are serious advantages to having a private government, even if it's a hereditary government, versus a publicly owned government, because we have talked about extensively on the podcast the disadvantages of having publicly controlled anything. And it may come down to the excesses of a hereditary government might not necessarily be as bad as the worst aspects of a publicly owned government.
All right, let's do our next email. I had to burp. Let's do our next email. This comes to us from CJ. It's in regards to the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan staff. CJ says, in episode 36, you mused about who the executives were in the now-defunct ORPP. I got a little bored and tried to dig up some names. First, I found the bio of Indria Niado Harris. And CJ has links. You can see all of these in the show notes. I copy and pasted the email. He's also found a whole bunch of information about who the employees were and using LinkedIn and so on and so forth. And I want to thank CJ for actually sending this in and taking the time to do the research about who was involved in the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan. Searching with the information that he has listed, what you can find in our show notes, the RRPP, he came up with about 90 results. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. I'm probably going to edit part of it. Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going with this. I should have read this more in detail.
I think the likely place to take this is that there's 90 people working on a project that never actually got launched, never got started, and is costing us, what was it, $70 million?
$70 million. CJ closes with, then I got bored and dropped it. Keep up the podcasting. I'm having a lot of fun listening. And we want to thank CJ and everyone else for listening to the show. We really do this for the listeners, and also so that I can vent about things in government that make me mad every week. Is Tyler back? Tyler's back.
I'm back. I muted my microphone when I leave because I'm courteous.
I appreciate that. Do you have anything to say about CJ's email?
Not in particular. I kind of asked the open question: is anybody surprised?
No.
By the waste. Like, what was the final financial figure? It was like $49 million.
No,
I want to say
$70 million.
$70 million.
The Ontario Retirement Pension Plan cost the Ontario taxpayers $70 million and never actually existed. Mostly marketing and salary.
Yeah, so who got paid? Right? Didn't I say something like this like half an hour ago, that they pay all their cronies, they pay their staffers, like everybody gets paid. Taxpayers get screwed. Nobody's held accountable. It's just money. $70 million that went poof. So that means that Ontario could have mostly bankrolled the education program for our veterans, essentially. Is that what's being said here? This is money that we wasted on nothing.
Like another $10 million from the Ontario budget, and we could have improved veteran education.
And Quebec probably wasted like twice as much on something even less important.
Yeah, but it was in French, so I can't read half the press releases.
It's just like insane. Like between Ontario and Quebec, we could probably fund like everything this country could ever want.
I feel like Ontario and Quebec is Canada's versions of like who can like hit the bottom the fastest, New York or California?
Oh yeah, it's just like it's the degeneracy Olympics. They're just racing for the bottom.
Well, I mean, really, that's what it is. Like, who can hit bottom faster, Ontario or Quebec? I mean, Quebec can do it with a lot more style because they do it in French, but really, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This province is a shithole. I live here. I was born here. This is my home province, but it's a shithole. I'll be the first to admit it, and I'll be not the first to proclaim it. But that is the way it is. Sorry, Western Canada.
My favorite thing is when you look at the list of people that this guy found, is how many of them, their job titles are relationship manager.
Oh, yeah, the links that CJ sent us are amazing. I don't want to read everything they found on LinkedIn because it would take me like half an hour, but oh my god, this... I know what CJ does for a living, and he must be bored.
I can't get on LinkedIn without an account, but I can speculate as to what I'm going to find behind that login screen.
Oh yeah, it's not a difficult guess. Like, check your local show notes because CJ did some really good research, and I find it highly entertaining.
Mm.
Okay. Let's do the outro. You guys didn't fill out your links because you're bad at show notes. Tyler, where's the best place to stay in touch with you on the internet?
I already had a blurb filled out in the links. Tyler can be found personally on Facebook easily and podcasting twice monthly with the International Liberty Death Podcast at facebook.com/Liberty Death Podcast, and on Twitter and Instagram at Liberty Podcast, and coming soon at www.libertydeathpodcast.com.
I just want to point out, do you see the thing where it says your link here, and it's like above my name?
Yeah, I saw that. And then do you see like 2 paragraphs down, it has like my blurb about me?
Yeah, I didn't read that because I was looking at where it said your link's here.
Oh, well, do you expect me to delete that for you? Or?
Yes, I do. And could you please tax me 57% of my income to do it?
I can
Marty,
do
do you believe
65%. I can give you the Danish rate.
Thanks. Marty, do you believe in the internet?
Nope.
No, okay, cool. As always, my name is Andrew. You can find all my work on everydaydetectical.com or on Instagram and Twitter at edtactical. I don't go on Twitter. Stop private messaging me or whatever you call it on Twitter, or I'm going to take that shit out of the show notes eventually.
Yeah, Twitter is the worst.
Yeah, Twitter is basically the worst. I used to get in arguments with people on Twitter, and then I decided I had bigger things to do in my life, like bottle water and make beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, bottling water has actually taken up more of my time than Twitter, because, screw that noise. If you want to stay in touch with the show, you can do that at Canadian... What's that, Marty?
Bottling water?
Because sometimes I drink the water, and then I have to replace the water that I drink. I run all my water through a Berkey.
Yeah, uh-huh.
To take the fluoride out.
This is making for terrible podcasting.
I'm going to have to edit the show hard. Part of it is Marty's like 10-second delay. But anyway.
Yeah.
You can find the show on CanadianPatriotPodcast.com or on Facebook at Facebook.com/CanadianPatriotPodcast. Remember, I love your hate mail. You can send that to me directly at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. You should make sure to include how the show hurt your feelings and why I should include trigger warnings when you're on the internet. Like we do every week, we'd like to remind our listeners that you are the true north, strong and free.
I don't think I said anything